Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. So, today we're going to be talking about the 4 environments. Why some grow and others stay stuck. The verse I want you to think about is, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God gave the increase. That's 1 Corinthians 3 and 6. Have you ever noticed that 2 people can hear the exact same message? One reads the same book, the other attends the same church, they work at the same company, but yet one person grows while the other person stays exactly the same. So why do you think that happens? Was the message different? Was opportunity different for them? Was the potential different? But see, you got to understand something. Jesus gives us an unexpected answer to this question. The seed was never the problem. The environment was. Most people spend their lives blaming the seed. Blaming the seed. They blame the idea. They blame the opportunities. They blame their circumstances. But see, growth is rarely limited by our potential. Growth is usually limited by our environment. When you think about it, if you put a big fish in a small fish bowl, that fish can't survive. Because in the idea cycle, development is not primarily about effort. Development is about environment. So welcome back to the idea cycle. And we're going to be talking about development. Can I grow? Today's scripture is going to be coming from Matthew 13:3 verse through 8. And the scripture starts out, it says, a farmer went out to sow seed. And so Jesus tells us a story of a farmer scattering seed. He says, when the farmer went to throw the seed, some of the seed fell on the path, some fell on the rocky ground, and some fell amongst thorns. Some fell on good soil. And you know what's interesting about this whole parable is that the farmer used the same seed. So that means that the seed had the same potential. But the only difference with the seed was the environments were different. The soil was different. And later, Jesus explains that the seed represents the word of God and the opportunity for transformation. See, this lesson, it extends beyond our spirituality. It applies to leadership directly. It also applies to our relationships, our businesses, our personal growth, our purpose, and also our everyday life. Because every seed needs an environment. And every environment produces a result. So let's talk about this development, this principle of this text. Most people ask, how can I work harder? How do I work harder to get this end result? But the better question is, it's not about working harder. We addressed that already. The actual question that I would suggest you ask would be, what environment am I growing in? Take an assessment of where you are first. God asked Adam that after he fell and said, where are you? Where are you? See, God was trying to get Adam to see the environment he was in. Adam, you have abundance. Where are you? You're not even seeing where. Why are you hiding? You have everything and me. It was about the environment. So we have to assess where we are, right? This is the development piece. Okay. A seed can't choose its environment, though. Adam was planted in the garden by God, right? Adam didn't choose that environment. Okay. You were born to be in the household you were in. You didn't choose your parents. But here's what you can choose. You can choose your relationships. You can choose the voices or the people that you listen to. You can choose your influences. You can choose what habits you gain and what habits you lose. You can choose the routine that you have every morning when you get ready with me, right? You can choose what you consume, what you put in your mouth. You can choose what you watch with your eyes. You can choose what you cultivate. And your choices determine whether your growth actually survives. See, the farmer's responsibility is not to become the seed. The farmer's responsibility is to manage the environment that the seed grows in. This leads us to the 4 environments that Jesus describes. The first environment is the path. And for me, if you read my book, The Idea Changed, this is the place where your ideas never take root. Jesus says some fall along the path. The ground was hard. The seed couldn't even penetrate the surface. And it says that birds immediately came up and consumed it immediately. It was food for something else. All right. This represents people who hear the truth but never allow it to enter their hearts. They hear, but they don't receive. They understand, but they never apply. How many people have attended conferences, church services, leadership trainings, coaching sessions? How many times have I been to a conference, a church service, a leadership training, only to leave there the same? I didn't learn anything. It was just part of the path. There was no development there. That's okay. It happens. You just assess that environment. This is a path for me. This is just a path. That means I'm not supposed to stay here. Okay. I don't put my roots on a path. Once I've assessed that environment, this is not where I'm going to root myself. This is not where I'm going to establish my family. I'm not going to stay here. This is just along the journey. Okay. It doesn't mean that anything was wrong. It's just that the soil was hard. That means it was too hard for you to grow in, right? This doesn't quite fit what I'm doing. I'm not the seed for it. But the seed itself, hey, maybe a bird, maybe somebody else could pick it up and eat it. But it wasn't my time. Okay. It was a closed environment for me. Too tight. And that is an environment where your growth cannot penetrate. You know what I mean? Another type of situation is I'm convinced that I know everything already. Some people are just hard path minded, right? They're path minded, which means nothing can get in. They know everything. Knowledge seekers tend to be like that. People who are wise in their own eyes tend to be like that. If you have a lot of experience and you in that I can't tell me nothing stuff, you tend to be like that. And a person who is unwilling to change is like that. These are people that can't be helped. They don't root themselves. They're just along the path. Okay. You might be a path. You might be the environment of path, right? Where you're hardening of your heart, right? That's a path-minded person. That means that there's nothing that can go in, nothing that's going to produce from it. They're just hardened, right? A person who hears the word but never applies the word, that's a hardening of your heart. And no seed, no matter what I try to tell that person, no seed that I tell them will actually grow in their minds. Nothing that I tell them will grow. When their mind is made up and they've drawn a line in the sand, I can't get through to them. You can't get through to them. These are people who cannot be helped unless they break up that hard path. But that's another topic. The next path, the next environment we talk about is the rocky. And that is a place of excitement, right? Without depth. See, Jesus says another Seed fell on rocky ground and it sprang up quickly. It looked promising, right? It grew. It had flowers. It had the stuff, right? And it appeared to be successful. But we all know that looks can be deceiving, because what's underneath what we can't see is what matters. It's our private lives that matter. And because it lacked its roots, it withered under the pressure of the sun. And that to me is excitement without the depth. You get overly zealous. You move too quickly. You move fast, right? The environment itself is producing its fast pace. Fast money, right? We getting fast money. We making sales. We doing our thing, right? I opened this business up, man. It flooded, but I didn't have the system in place to maintain that. I got over my head because I got this loan. I got a $5 million loan. Yeah, so I'm going to get the biggest building I could possibly get, and I'm going to maximize that mug, right? That's excitement without depth. No, don't do that. You're going to be in debt up to your eyeballs, and you don't have the revenue to support such business. Yes, you got the loan, but you probably lied, so you got it fast, okay? That's also the motivation without the discipline. The discipline is not go sit in a corner. A discipline is, think of school. What is your concentration? What is your discipline? You have a doctorate, you have a bachelor's, you have a master's, you have a associate's, you have a certificate, right? That certifies you to say, okay, I know what I'm doing here, right? You can hold me to a higher standard. Being motivated without that standard that has been set where people can hold you to, that's the problem. We're motivated, but we don't have the depth to understand that motivation alone is it moves the needle, but it doesn't sustain the intention, right? Another thing that happens is you get these polarities. You get inspiration without the consistency. I'm moving fast. Woo! Pumped up. I'm ready to go. But you don't know what it takes to do it day and night. Many people love the idea of growth, but few people embrace the process of growth. We start out really strong. I get back in the gym. This is the most overused example, but it's so true. I get back in the gym. I'm starting off great. Oh, this is amazing. Ooh-wee. This feels so good. The first 2 weeks, right? And then after week number 2, it's like, man, I ain't doing this no more. I felt great for a second. Now my body's sore. I can't recover. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So you quit. You embrace the idea of having a six-pack, but you didn't want to stay consistent enough to get it. You go back into the comfort zone, this comfort that we were talking about last week. Okay. Some people read a lot. Oh, I'm going to read. They read 3 books. They buy courses. They create vision boards, right? They launch all these projects. They make announcements to people. Oh, I'm going to get my doctorate degree. I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. All of that. They make announcements. Oh, yeah, me and JoJo, we got engaged. Then pressure comes. How are we going to pay for this wedding? You do know that you do have student loan debt. And doctoral programs are expensive. Oh, you do know the vision board is just a piece of paper, right? Huh? Difficulties, obstacles, that criticism of the intention happens. Resistance to change happens. That aspect that comes. And then everything just disappears. You're like, whoop, whoop, there it is, done. Why? Because roots were never developed fully. And growth that lasts always grows deeper before it grows higher. And if you want to watch something, Myron Golden explains it's the best. He's the best. He really does. He puts it down. Okay. The next environment is thorny ground. Okay. Thorny places. This is growth that is choked by distractions. Distractions can be material things. It could be looking at the outcome before you actually have the system in place, or before you get clients, you're thinking about purchasing all the stuff. It's like buying something without the money. I don't. Okay. Jesus says that another seed actually began to grow. And unlike the rocky soil, the seed actually survived. So it actually penetrated. It came up. It started to develop itself, right? But the thorns grew around it. Okay. And eventually the thorns choked out the growth. So it had the ability to grow more, but the thorns of life, this is many of us, keep us from growing. I'm in too much debt to buy the house. Why are you in too much debt? You got distracted. You overspent. And my growth, which we call this word potential, is never reached. So the problem isn't that we lack the growth in this environment, right? The problem is that the seed itself grew, but everything was overcrowding its actual growth. Okay. Many people are not failing because they lack the opportunity. They're failing because too many things compete for their attention. Too many things compete for your attention. Your attention should be solely focused, okay, on developing nourishment, right? And their attention, the things that pull you away, are the very things that choke you out. Think about it. Gossip, drama, comparing yourself to another person, social media, busyness just for the sake of being busy, toxic relationships. You always need to have the TV on. You can never sit by yourself in silence. Those things. And you know what? You grow, but you're not fruitful. You don't want to buy thorny fruits. They're kind of sour. Okay? They might even be poisonous. So you got to understand, this happens not because growth stopped, because you're going to grow in that environment. But when you grow, your distractions grow. How did Biggie say? More money, more problems. That was a thorny environment. And see, the enemy of greatness is not failure. I'm going to say that again. The enemy of your greatness is not your failure. It is distractions. It's material. It's the things that pull you away from your goal, from your purpose, from where God wants you to go, from God's will for your life, for his perfect will for your life. For marriages, it's infidelity. It's unfaithfulness, right? Your marriage, you were going to grow as a relationship, but you got distracted. Man, Sherry, she's putting it on pretty thick. Next thing you know, you're laying in the bed with her. Whoops. Whoops. Oof. People still make it work, but for some, it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Distraction. Whoops. When you're a child, video games, and you got a test. Oh, but man, that new 2K came out, man. You know, bro, we gotta sit online and we gotta stream together, bro. We gotta do this. Come on, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, you study for that test? No. I ain't even do it, man. fail. You get that grade back. Woo. Man, what does F mean? Oh, shoot, fail, right? Or you get the B plus, but you're an A student because you were distracted. You're watching the game or something. You get the message. All right, the last environment, which is the environment we all probably love and we want, and that is the good soil. Good soil environments. They are growth sustained through cultivation environments, right? Jesus says that some fell on good soil, right? And it produced 30, 60, and 100 times what was planted. Okay. You got to understand something about this good soil. It was not perfect soil. It just was good. There might have been a few pebbles up in there. There might have been a few thorn bushes that might have tried to bring, right? There might have been some rocks that and some seed or whatever that was in there. But the good soil, the difference was it was cultivated soil. That soil had been prepared for seed. That soil was protected. That soil was well maintained and it was nourished. So it was prepared for growth. And that environment is the environment that you look for. Is this environment that I can grow in? Growth is not accidental. Growth is cultivated. Growth is good soil that is ready for truth. So good soil actually receives truth. It protects it. It develops roots and it removes the weeds. It creates a condition for us to multiply our intentionality in life. We can have multiple goals that grow because we cultivate the soil. This is why some people continue to grow year after year after year after year after year. Things just always trend upwards for these people. And it's not because they're more talented than you are. It is not because God has given them more gifts than you. It's simply because they've learned to cultivate their environments. Evaluate where you are and cultivate. Adam, where are you? He stopped cultivating the garden. God was like, something's wrong. This man, he stopped his work. He went and hid. He created things to hide himself more. His work becomes a cover-up instead of the intentionality. So here's the big idea for me. You're not the seed. It dawns. What? You're the farmer. Many people spend their lives asking, why isn't the seed growing? Jesus asked, what kind of soil are you creating? The future of your growth is hidden inside the environment you cultivate today. Because growth is not about potential. Your growth is actually about your placement. Your growth is actually about your placement. Where do you place your ideas? Where do you place your intentions? Where do you place your energies? Where do you place your water? Where do you place your nourishment? Where do you place your love? Where do you place your gentleness? Where do you place your kindness? What are you placing that? Where are you placing your seed? Each fruit of the Spirit had to come from a seed, and each seed is already there. It's in you for you to place it in the environment. So take an inventory of your soil, of your environments. Evaluate every environment of your life. It could be your house. It could be your workplace. It could be your church. It could be your family's environment, where you're living at. It could be your community. It could be your world. It could be the streets, right? Evaluate those. Take inventory of the soil. Couple things. Let's talk about it. Relationships. Do the people around you challenge you to become better? Do the people around you challenge you to become better? Or do they just reinforce the old version of yourself? Do they keep bringing up your past? Huh? Do they keep reminding you of who you used to be? Do they keep bringing up histories? Okay. Let's go there. Let's talk about your church. Let's talk about your church. Does your spiritual environment encourage growth? Are you growing spiritually? You go to church to get pumped up in the spirit, right? Or are you just there out of merely comfort and convenience? These are evaluation questions. Evaluate them. Career. Does your work environment develop your gifts? Are you able to actually grow your gifting at the job that you're working? Okay. If not, you need to go to a different job that can give you those opportunities for growth. Because here's what's happened. If you don't get those, it just drains the potential, right? It becomes a thorn for you. It keeps you distracted, right? It's a distraction that pays you, which is the worst. And in our system, you need the money, so you got to keep working. I was watching this guy offered a woman who was working in fast food $100,000 cash. She didn't believe him. All he asked her to do was to leave the job now, and she didn't. She didn't take the $100,000 now because she was ready. She didn't want to lose her job because she didn't believe that this guy was going to give her the $100K. What would you do in that situation? Would you take the risk? Speaking of it, social media. Does what you consume on a daily basis strengthen your purpose? Everything that you watch, is it geared towards what you're currently assigned to do in your life? Or is it just simply distracting you? This is the hot time. This is the hot, like, oh yeah, I know I'm not supposed to be scrolling, blah, blah. But some of the stuff on social media, it actually strengthens your purpose. Some of the stuff that you see, content creators put things out there to help people. They do it on purpose. And it actually does help people, right? Some content creators put stuff out that distracts people. So evaluate it. Change your interests. Click a button, say, nah, that ain't for me, cuz. Lastly, let's talk about your habits. Habits are your daily routines creating good soil. Or are you just creating weeds in your life, right? Because you understand something about habits. Growth is rarely determined by a single decision, okay? Growth, you can make a decision. Decisions are critical because decisions determine the trajectory or path, right, that you take. You can grow as long as you make a decision, right? You got to start there. But your growth is not determined by that. It's determined by like the repeated exposure to these different environments and how you cultivate them. The soil you stay in becomes the person you become, because naturally, regardless of where we're at, you look at it, people, we are resilient, but we're also have this innate adaptability to where we will create something out of nothing. Lobsters they were seen as disgusting things, right? They were seen as low-class food. But because they were so cheap, they were offered to people in an elegant way, and we created nothing out of something. Because we will create something Somebody will, and they'll get paid lots of money for it. But you got to understand, cultivating the environment is innate in you. You're going to naturally do it. But wherever you stay is what you become in. So evaluate, are you truly growing? Or is this environment that I'm in, is it too distracting for me? Is this environment I'm in, it's a hard place. This is just too hard. This is hard. This is a concrete jungle for me. I need to leave this place because I will just get swallowed up by it, the system. I'll get swallowed up by the concrete. Is this environment moving too fast? This fast life. Boom, 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 fast life. You see what I'm saying? Am I trying to live a life where I'm always chasing something that I'll never obtain? Right? Or am I staying grounded in the good soil? Regardless of the environment, if it's a path, I need to create good soil in there. I need to break up that rocks. I need to tear out those thorns. I need to cultivate that land. So here's your closing challenge. This week, ask yourself, is this soil helping me grow? Ask it about your relationships. Ask it about your habits. Look at that and say, hey, man, is this social media page really helping me grow? Is that Instagram model worth really like looking at like that? Right? Ask yourself about your career. Is this job really, am I growing in this or am I just settling? About your spiritual life. Okay. Because your seed is not the problem. The seed has all the potential. The seed is where the fruit is, right? The seed has everything it needs inside the shell, inside of whatever that is. It's already there. The growth is inside of the seed. So the seed's not ever going to be the problem. The environment is. And when you change that environment, you change the harvest. You change the outcome. 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 100, right? So you can change the harvest. And that harvest, it varies, right? From time to time, from season to season. But you stay cultivating the environment that you're in. And cultivation sometimes meaning transitioning, right? Sometimes it means getting some of the things out of your environment that are distracting you. Sometimes it means you got to physically break some things away. But don't let it carry you. Don't let it move you too quickly. Don't let it distract you. Okay. So let's talk about this final thought. Growth is not about how hard you work. It's not about the effort that you put in. Growth is about the environment. You cultivate the right soil and God will provide the increase. That's 1 Corinthians 3. Okay. 1 Corinthians 3, verse 6. Because it says, I planted the seed. Apollos watered the seed. But God gave the increase. So make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. Peace out.